Welcome to the Marine Conservation Happy Hour. This is Dr. Scarlet Smash, and I have Dr. Kraken here. I'm sober. He's drinking his drinky poo, which is just fine. Super happy to have him, and you're bouncing on lots of coffee too.
Yeah, I've been drinking lots of coffee, and
great.
I'm drinking Drunken Well sake, which had to be done really.
And I'm totally on green tea, blueberry green tea to detox. I love giving myself lots and lots of tea just to flush my entire system out. I think this is my third tea today. It's pretty bad.
You're pretty much an honorary Brit, aren't you?
I am. I know, right? Okay, so today on this episode, we're going to talk about a proclamation on National Ocean Month 2021. And this is on the White House government page. But first, here is a public announcement.
Hello, everyone. If you're a listener to the Marine Conservation Happy Hour, you might be wondering, how do these strange kids keep managing to record every single week? Well, we need support from Patreon supporters. Why not tune into patreon.com/marine conservation and buy us a drink? You can start from giving us a wee toast for just $1 to, buying us a whole round of drinks. And each level has different types of benefits, going from a shout out on the show to even having a guest co-host slot on one of the episodes. Yes, absolutely. If you go big time, you can actually join us on the show and be a co-host. You can suggest possible topics that we could talk about. You can get involved with special live happy hours with just the crew. So go to patreon.com/marine conservation and show us the money.
And now back to our show and all the shenanigans.
Oh, yes. This is very interesting. So this is, last year there was also a National Ocean Month proclamation, but the flavor between the Trump administration and the Biden administration, very different. And one of the things here, well, do you want me to go just explain about the proclamation? Because I have read this.
You're totally ready. I'm telling you. I'm looking at you. You're bouncing and you're like, please. So go ahead.
Well, first of all, let's talk about Joe Biden himself. So he is from Delaware. And so Delaware is for those of you outside of the US, in fact, for some of you inside the US as well, Delaware is kind of like the Holland of the US. It's actually really low. The highest point in all of Delaware is only like 140 meters above sea level. And the average height of the whole state is about 20 above sea level. So it's a really low-lying area. So in terms of climate change and sea level rise, there's a huge amount of concern about what it would actually mean. And if you look at a lot of the sort of estimations of coastal impacts and storm surges and so on, Delaware would be really, really hard hit. So it makes perfect sense that Joe Biden would be very interested in climate change for his home state, but also, generally in terms of the US as well.
Wait a minute. How is that possible? Because Donald Trump had Mar-a-Lago.
But it's a bit different if you own, let's just say it's a bit different if you own lots of really expensive real estate in a coastal area that goes underwater. You might not want to promote the idea it might disappear in 30 years under the ocean and lose its value, which is one of the big issues with certain states we could mention that have been trying to deny climate change, because coastal real estate could take, either the insurance would go through the roof or property values would decline.
My insurance for the house went
Oh,
up
absolutely.
like $150 just this year.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Actually, your representative for Tampa, very into coastal protection. So
Oh
they've
yeah, we have
actually,
a new
yeah.
climate action task force. So there are a lot of people here
Oh,
that are.
and it makes perfect sense if you see Tampa. I mean, that's an area that will disappear underneath a big wave.
But
Absolutely.
then there's also lots of things that we could do with it, like
Mhm.
lots and lots of restoration, and there's just so
Oh,
much that's a
huge,
potential because
yeah.
it's in a little nook that's kind of protected.
Huge amounts of restoration work, huge amounts of blue carbon work as well, regrowing seagrass beds and so on. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of potential. Well, actually, that brings me back to the proclamation. One of the things that Biden, when he's talking about climate change, he talks about the impacts, talks about it being a crisis, it talks about how we need to do something. But he also talks about this as, in terms of sort of a glass half full, this is also an opportunity because there could be a lot of jobs that are created in terms of dealing with climate change, developing technologies to deal with climate change, blue carbon, carbon sequestration, coastal defenses, companies where, oh God, we can't build houses anymore. We can build coastal
I
defenses.
totally agree. I was
We
thinking
can
about that the other day. I was
absolutely
like, do you know how many jobs we could be just putting out there right now, preparing for coastal protection?
replanting seagrass, replanting in the Everglades, putting in coastal barriers. Not to mention all the renewable energy. I mean, huge amounts of renewable energy potential in the US, and it just drives me crazy with people going, "Oh, the US doesn't really have the potential." Have you ever been to the southwest of the US? It's just like desert. You know, huge amounts of solar panels could be put there, a lot of wind energy. North and South Dakota, nothing there. You could be driving for 3 hours and not see a single thing. And then there are these winds coming across the plains. You could have turbines there generating energy,
I mean,
powering the
we've
country.
talked about this, that just
Oh,
a hurricane from the winds alone, we could capture a lot of energy just from one storm. It would be like
I mean,
months
there's
of a
so much
supply.
energy. I mean, there are issues with renewable energies where, because the wind blows at certain times and the sunshine at certain times. But you can say the same thing about a lot of other different types of energy as well. Whenever the Super Bowl is on, suddenly there's a huge energy surge because everyone is like watching it, and they're making cups of coffee and whatever. Whenever anyone wakes up in the morning, they put their coffee maker on. So there are energy surges throughout the day, and the grid adapts to deal with that. So they can adapt to deal with renewable energy too. So all the sort of naysayers again, "Meh, meh, meh. Yeah, but it's only sun only shines during the day." The US is big. There's like 3 hours of difference across the state, if more if you count Hawaii and Puerto Rico. Yeah, we have the technology to deal with spreading this energy out. We've got solar panels on our roof now. It's fantastic. We basically have no energy cost now. We put solar panels up. It was free because the amount of energy it was going to produce in the long term would offset the entire cost of it. And there was a company that did all the paperwork for us. We just signed a form, blah, 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 blah. They did it as like a sort of long term loan. But in the end, 10 years, everything's going to be paid off. And then they will actually be paying us for energy. And whenever all the electricity lines come down because there is a slight blowy wind above 30 miles an hour, or there's snow, or leaves fall off a tree, we're going to have energy, whereas the whole neighborhood will be locked out because all
I've
the
been
electricity is in
saying this
cables.
all the
Oh,
time, actually, the past few weeks, especially because of that situation that you guys had up north
mm,
with the hackers, right?
mhm.
The major hackers that are going in to our energy supplies. I mean, that's terrifying.
Oh,
That is the
shows
new
us.
war. That's the new war.
Yeah, it
Okay.
just shows us how vulnerable the
Vulnerable.
US,
Vulnerable.
because we're so dependent on
It
oil
shut
and gas.
down all of your pipelines and all of DC functioning intensely busy DC didn't have gasoline.
Mhm.
I mean, imagine if it got to a point where there were power outages because there was a type of hacking. You know what I mean? And so I feel like we do need to prepare in some ways. And why have a generator that is just gas and it's dangerous and it's scary when you can get these solar power generators, which I've been totally looking at, just in case there's like an unexpected
Absolutely.
situation.
It kind of reminds we're big fans here of the I don't know if people watch this. I highly recommend it if you do. The Murdoch Mysteries. It's a hit Canadian show. It's sort of the turn of the century, and they keep coming up with things like the invention of cars, and then the horse and carriage industry going, oh no, these cars are really bad. We should get rid of them. We should ban them because all these are jobs. It's evolution. Oil and gas industry, it's on its way out. It's not feasible. It's not long term. We have to invest in renewable energy. And unfortunately, the US in particular has missed the boat. A lot of that technology development is in Europe. A lot of the actual practical side of it, the mass production, is in China, is in India. The US has sort of missed the boat. They need to get ahead of the curve. They need to be producing patents about the next generation of renewable energy, the next generation of coastal defenses against sea level rise, and getting the patents and getting businesses up about that. And that's what Biden said in terms of he actually sees this as a glass half full. So the country really needs to look at ourselves and go, let's look at the opportunities. The US is a country that was built on innovation. And when it comes to things like energy, when it comes to things like climate change, we look into the past. We need to be innovative again. We need to go back to like the turn of the century when we were inventing TVs and we were inventing telegraphs and we were inventing electric lights and so on. We need to be doing that for renewable energy and climate solutions.
Amen.
So endeth today's lesson.
There you go, Dr. Dragon. Man, you've been waiting to talk about this. It's just been boiling up.
This has been something that's like been building all week, and because of lockdown, I haven't been able to talk to anyone about it.
Must rant! Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kraken. And we have another episode all about seabirds again. Seabirds. We are starting to really love seabirds and talking about seabirds, aren't we?
Seabirds are cool. Yeah, seabirds, forget these little garden birds. Seabirds where it's at.
Oh my God, I love garden birds too. So don't even
seabirds
hate on them too.
Seabirds are where it's at, dude. Seabirds
all right, Dr. Kraken, thanks so much for being here. Everyone else that's tuning in, I hope you feel super informed and feel the energy from Dr. Kraken, because he definitely sent it your way, that's for sure. And happy conservation.